Welcome back, Patriots. I am the Math Patriot giving you another lesson today on the exciting world of high school geometry. Today we're continuing on with trigonometry. We've already had two lessons so far. The first one being what in the world is trigonometry, what's its basic definition, a style of math in which you're studying the relationship between the angles and sides of triangles. We've also covered one lesson on what in the world is a radian and why is it important for me, which in this case really is just make sure your calculator is set in the right mode. Before we move on, make sure you hit like and subscribe for me. That way you can be the first to know as soon as we have our new content uploaded. That way you can continue on with your geometry class. Go ahead and make your straight A's out there in YouTube land. Now, the first thing we're going to have to do on actually doing trigonometry is start labeling the sides of our triangle. As you know, every single triangle has three sides. In a right triangle, those three sides have specific names. One of them you're already familiar with, the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is the longest side in a right triangle. It's also one that is directly across from the right angle. Now, the two that you might not have heard about before are the opposite and the adjacent sides. Now, those two are a little bit more tricky because you've got to be very, very careful with what your point of view is. Just like in your English classes, and you're writing a paper, you're trying to figure out about what someone's motives are and why they did a certain thing. Well, understanding that person's point of view becomes very, very important. And you might see the exact same event from two different angles and come to two different conclusions based simply on the point of view of the character. Well, we got a very similar idea going on here. First thing I want you to do anytime you're trying to label your sides is always label the hypotenuse first. It's the longest side of the right triangle. It's the one across from the right angle. It's the easiest one to find. So across from my right triangle or my right angle here, I've got my hypotenuse. I'm going to abbreviate all of these using three-letter abbreviations. So we've got the hypotenuse here. Now we've got to look at adjacent and opposite. Now, remember in our previous lesson, we talked about this symbol, the theta, is used to be an unmarked angle. And for our purposes, anytime that we have a single acute angle marked, that is our reference angle or the point of view that we're talking about. Now, from this position, if I'm looking at theta, I got to figure out which one is opposite and which one is adjacent. Now, opposite means on the other side, across, way over there. Adjacent means I could reach out and touch it because it's right there beside me. Well, if I look at these two sides, the ones that aren't marked, which one is right close by that I could touch and which one is way over there that I can't touch, way over on the other side? Well, I mean, honestly, if I was to draw an angle arc right around my reference angle, it's going to touch the hypotenuse every single time, and it's always going to touch my adjacent side as well. Now, what's way over there on the other side? Well, the only thing that this theta isn't touching is this third side, the one here on the left. That is going to be my opposite side. Now, I could flip the whole thing around and do things from the other point of view, from the other reference angle. In that case, I'm still going to mark my hypotenuse first. Hypotenuse is still the one directly across from the right angle, still the longest side. So here's my hypotenuse over here on the top right. Now, from this place, from this point of view, which one is right there that I can touch and which one is way over across on the opposite side? Well, again, draw that angle arc. The angle arc will always touch hypotenuse and it will always touch adjacent as well. Now, the one way over across on the other side that this theta is not touching, that's my opposite side. Now, some students have problems with this. That's fine. Other students think this is completely trivial. If you find this challenging, labeling whichever one it is, I strongly suggest that you take some time to draw out some triangles in different positions and start labeling which ones are which. I mean, do it in various configurations. Put your right angle in a different spot. Put it in the top right instead of the bottom left. Still get used to doing your opposite adjacent hypotenuse. If you need to draw that angle arc, do it every single time. Whatever you can do to help you be consistent so that you get them in the right place every single time. In our next video, we're going to start talking about trig ratios. We're going to need to start dividing opposite divided by hypotenuse, adjacent divided by hypotenuse, opposite divided by adjacent. If you can't label these sides correctly, then those ratios are never going to make sense to you. So please take some time to practice, get this down, make sure you can label opposite adjacent hypotenuse. Remember, the hypotenuse is always the one across in the right angle. The adjacent one is the one that is also touching your reference angle. If I draw that angle arc, that arc will always touch hypotenuse and adjacent. The other one across the other side is going to be opposite. That's all I got for you for right now. As always, stay patriotic.